Rhonda Matthews is part of Clemson's Food, Safety, and Nutrition team, and we're so happy that you're here tonight talking about something that I think is very appropriate for this time of year because these really have an application for the holidays.
Absolutely, and they're beginning to come in. Saw folks actually yesterday picking them up from from their front yard. So, and that's actually true of a lot of homes in South Carolina. They've got a pecan tree somewhere in the yard, or maybe several. So. And what I said was true because it was getting ready to rain. And if it rains on the pecans, you run a much higher risk of them molding or even the nut meats going rancid. So we like to get them up, get them inside or at least under cover, and let them start drying out. One of the easiest ways to dry whole pecans, I'm going to put you to work here, is simply to take them and single layer on. Look at you. Why, you might have dried pecans at some time. So a single layer on newspaper, undercover in the house is actually great. A lot of folks use the dining room table to do this because it's a nice flat space.
So we want to have them preferably where the humidity will be lower. So
fairly low.
If the weather outside is damp, we'd do better to dry them in the house.
Absolutely, and plan to wait on them probably several days.
While you're doing that, you can go ahead and cull the ones if it's got a hole in it, and that's one you want to discard because the weevil got into that one. So we'll just put that one aside.
That one you don't
want. These are really lovely looking. And how long would you let them sit out to dry? Probably.
So it's going to take probably a week, maybe a little bit longer if your house is a little bit more humid. But once they have dried out and that moisture content has lowered down, now you're ready to do something with them, get them into storage. You can certainly store them just like this.
But you'd have to have a mighty big chest freezer.
That's exactly what happens is that shell just takes up so much room. So what most folks do is they move on to this stage. So a lot of folks will do this by hand. Some folks go and seek out someone who has a machine that will crack and sift or crack and blow the
makes it a lot
faster. Nuts. Oh, absolutely. And then you're able to just go through and pick out the goodie. And then once you get the nut meat away from the shell, then we're over to this point. These are ready. They're ready to either eat raw or go into long-term storage. Most folks, when they buy pecans or pick up pecans from the yard, there's a lot of it. So we almost always put some into storage. The colder the temperature, the longer they hold premium quality.
Because the oil content is very high.
Extremely high.
Go rancid very quickly.
Very, very quickly. So freezer is my recommendation. 0 degrees, believe it or not, you'll get 4 to 5 years premium shelf life out of them at 0 degrees.
And actually, for people who mostly collect their own pecans out of their yard, Mark Arena, who's our pecan specialist, says that really you're lucky if you get pecans about every 5 years because there are a lot of things that can cause disease and there are a good many insects. So it's good if you have a bumper crop to store some because the next year you may not get any.
Exactly. And if you have to buy them, get your pocketbook ready. There's nothing cheap about going to buy pecans. When you store these in the freezer or refrigerator, either one, make sure that you're using either a freezer bag or a glass jar. The reason is they're moisture proof. So you want to exclude that freezer, the freezer moisture. The other thing that I always tell folks, label it so that you know which year they came
That's
from.
True. You want to use the older
with the
ones
glass
first.
jar. Make sure that you label it. And you're right, use the older ones first. So package those up, slide them into the freezer, 0 degrees, good for as long as you can keep your hands off of them, I would imagine.
And I wanted to say that Tony Melton has taught all of us a good trick. And Tony says when you're at a place that has smaller straws, get a couple of them and bring them home. Fill this bag of nuts to the point that you wish to, and then get it almost closed and have the straw right here in this corner and then go and you can get almost all the air out. And that will even improve the quality.
Absolutely. That's pseudo vacuum sealing.
Almost,
the hard way to vacuum seal, but it'll certainly work. And a lot of folks have actually invested in those vacuum sealers now. And if you have one, you're going to get the absolute longest storage time there.
You know, the almond industry in California has such a big promotional campaign about almonds being so healthy for you. But actually, our pecans are every bit as nutritious and even have those smaller compounds that are so important. Tell us about some of those things.
Absolutely. There's a lot going for a pecan in terms of the nutrition. and then we'll get to the bad news about it. They're loaded with antioxidants, very healthy, loaded with plenty of fiber, plenty of minerals, just overall a good, healthy addition.
And how about the type of fat that's involved?
It. They're loaded with the healthy fats, monounsaturated and polyunsaturated.
Yes.
But when I say loaded, I mean loaded.
As most of our nuts are.
Well, you're right. These are exceptionally high. As a matter of fact, a cup of pecans is going to have more than your whole day's allotment of fat if you're just on a 2,000 calorie diet. So a little goes a long way. You know, they say good stuff comes in small packages. So just a small handful, you get the good nutrition, but you don't go crazy with the calories.
Well, how about some of the ways that we can use smaller amounts of pecans to make our food a little tastier or crunchy?
Sure thing. Just a little bit on top of a salad. Throw it into any kind of muffins, any kind of baked goods. Or if you're a smoothie lover, omit the peanut butter. That's a staple in most smoothies. Throw this in there. You get a little texture, but you get that yummy flavor as well.
What a fascinating idea. I hadn't thought of that.
One of the things that a lot of folks will do, especially at Christmas time with the nuts, is they will like to toast them. That really enhances the flavor. Just a little bit of oil. That's it. A little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, or some folks go with the butter. Low temperature. If the higher the temperature, the shorter the time. You really have to stay with these. 325, 8 to 10 minutes. Don't walk away. Because
and I put them in we have them in a single layer.
That's
and
it.
sometimes even sift them during that time.
Absolutely. Give them a little stir. There's a fine line between perfectly toasted pecan and yucky.
Now, some people call them butter roasted, but vegetable oil works just as well, and sometimes it's a little easier to prevent it getting to the burnt stage.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any liquid oil will be fine.
Okay.
So, and then lightly salted, and wow, what a treat that is.
And those too can be frozen then and brought out for a party.
You bet.
Can be done ahead of time.
If you can keep your hands off of them.
Well, and then of course, since it is holidays, what is just the absolute quintessential dessert?
You know, I couldn't have said it any better. So when those holidays roll around, this is what most of our pecans wind up becoming. That yum, yum pecan pie that every Southern belle just is so very proud of. So hopefully we can go from those in the yard to this on the plate.
And I must say, I don't know what y'all do in North Georgia, but in South Carolina, considering how many people are here at this TV station tonight, we would have brought a lot bigger pecan pie than this one that Rhonda brought here.
No doubt. We'll have an empty pie plate at the end of this.
We sure will. But it really, you have given us some wonderful ideas, the ways that we can use these and keep them under control. And then on the very special occasions, we can all have a treat and really enjoy that.
So if you do have a piece or a piece and a half, make sure you take an extra long walk that afternoon. So.
Or we'll go out and pull up the weeds in the yard.
Oh, even better.
Okay. Rhonda, thank you so much. And if people want to know more about food safety or about the things that you talked about today, what's the best way to get that information?
First thing I always say to folks is pick up the phone and call the local extension office and tell them what you've got going on, and we'll find the person to talk with you. If you prefer the internet, of course, that Home and Garden Information Center is a wealth of information. Just browse through, take a look at what's up there, and you'll probably find the answer online. The other thing is we've got a live human being up there at the HGIC, so you can call the 800
talk about
number.
Plants or food issues.
That is it.
Isn't that
so
right?
call us up at the HGIC. Those agents are glad to talk with you as well. We love to talk with our public.
And for those of you who have pecan trees in your yard, Mark Arena has a newsletter that he sends out. If you call your local extension office, we can get your information and see to it that you will receive Mark's newsletter. It's mainly directed towards commercial growers, but there are tips that you can use in your home landscape as well. And again, I want to thank you so much. And I'm going to put this piece of pie back here so that at the end of the show, I'll have my own just dedicated for me. Thank you so much.
Fair and square.